The secret Mars file before humans ever walk across the red plains of Mars, before the first astronaut bends down and touches its ancient dust, before a drill opens the buried layers of its frozen ground. There is one strange question that has never fully disappeared. Was Mars always dead, or did something exist there long before us? Mars looks silent today, cold, dry, empty. A desert world wrapped in thin air and red dust. But the more we study it, the more it begins to feel like a planet with a forgotten past. Its surface carries the scars of rivers. Its rocks remember water. Its valleys look carved by ancient floods. Its dry lake beds suggest that Mars was once warmer, wetter, and far more alive as a planet than it is now. Love space, science, and cosmic mysteries, subscribe to the cosmic Earth and join the adventure. For decades, scientists have asked whether Mars once had the conditions for life, but in 1984, one unusual government document pushed the question into a much stranger place. Not just life, not just microbes, but structures, pyramids, tall beings, a dying civilization, and a mysterious experiment connected to the CIA. The document is known as Mars Exploration, May 22nd, 1984. It is not a normal NASA report. It does not show rover images. It does not contain rock samples. It does not offer direct scientific proof. Instead, it records a remote viewing session. Remote viewing was the claimed ability to mentally describe a distant place without physically being there. During the Cold War, the United States explored many unusual methods of intelligence gathering. Some experiments involved psychology, some involved perception, and some crossed into areas that sounded closer to science fiction than science. The idea was simple, but controversial. Could the human mind describe a hidden target? Could a person focus on coordinates and receive impressions of a distant location? Could this be used to gather information from places that were impossible to reach? Most scientists remained skeptical, but intelligence agencies were interested enough to test it, and one of those tests pointed toward Mars. In the session, a subject was guided by a monitor. The subject was given coordinates. The time target was not modern Mars, but Mars in the distant past, approximately 1 million years ago. Then the subject began describing what he claimed to perceive. His first impressions were unsettling. A pyramid-like form, a large structure, smooth surfaces, huge walls, massive shapes that felt almost artificial. As the session continued, the descriptions became even stranger. He spoke of canyon-like spaces, carved walls, large interior chambers, a marker resembling an obelisk, shelters built against storms, and then came the most haunting part. He described tall, thin beings, not monsters, not invaders, not the aggressive aliens of science fiction. Instead, they appeared ancient, weak, philosophical, as if they belonged to a civilization that had reached its final days. They seemed to be waiting for help, or waiting for others to return. Their world, according to the description, was collapsing around them. The environment was changing. Storms were becoming severe. Survival was becoming impossible. Some had left in search of another place. Others remained behind, waiting. That image is powerful. A dying world, a lost people, a red planet that once carried intelligence, memory, and tragedy. But here is where the story must be treated carefully. A powerful image is not proof. A strange document is not evidence of a civilization, and a remote viewing session cannot be accepted the same way we accept data from spacecraft, orbiters, rovers, or laboratories. Modern science has not found pyramids on Mars. It has not found cities. It has not found tools, machines, bones, writings, roads, temples, or ruins. Every major mission so far has shown Mars as a natural world shaped by geology, impacts, erosion, volcanoes, ice, dust, and ancient water. Yet the reason this story keeps attracting attention is because Mars really did change. That part is true. Long ago, Mars was not the frozen desert we see today. Billions of years ago, it likely had liquid water on its surface. It may have had rivers, lakes, rain, and a thicker atmosphere. Some environments on ancient Mars may have been suitable for microbial life. Then something changed. The atmosphere thinned, the surface dried out, the planet cooled. Water disappeared from the surface or became trapped underground as ice. Mars became a world of silence. So when the 1984 document describes a failing planet, it touches a real scientific mystery. Mars did lose something. The question is what? Did it lose only its habitability, or did it once lose life? And if life existed there, was it only microbial? Or could something more complex have ever appeared?
Science answers cautiously. There is currently no evidence for intelligent life on Mars, but imagination does not always wait for evidence. It fills empty valleys with ruins. It turns mountains into faces. It turns pyramid-shaped hills into monuments. It turns silence into a story. This is one reason Mars has always been dangerous for the human mind. We want to see meaning there. We want the red planet to be connected to us. We want it to hold a secret. In 1976, NASA's Viking mission photographed a region called Cydonia. One formation appeared, under certain lighting, to look like a human face. The face on Mars became famous around the world. For some people, it was a natural mountain. For others, it was evidence of a lost civilization. Later, higher resolution images showed that the face was almost certainly a natural landform. But by then, the idea had already entered public imagination. Mars was no longer only a scientific target. It had become a mystery world, a place where people expected hidden ruins, ancient warnings, and forgotten beings. This cultural background matters because when the CIA remote viewing document described pyramids and strange structures, it connected perfectly with ideas already surrounding Mars. Was the subject truly perceiving something unknown? Was he influenced by the culture of the time? Was his mind creating images from expectation, imagination, and suggestion? Or was the experiment simply testing how far remote viewing could go? These questions do not have easy answers, and that is what makes the document so fascinating. It sits between mystery and skepticism, between science and speculation, between government secrecy and human imagination. It does not prove that Mars had an ancient civilization, but it reveals how deeply Mars has captured our fears and hopes. Because when we look at Mars, we are not only looking at another planet, we are looking at a possible past, a possible warning, a possible future. Earth is alive today. Mars may once have been alive in its own way, and if one planet can change so completely, then the silence of Mars becomes more than a mystery. It becomes a question. Could a world lose its atmosphere, its water, its life, and maybe even its memory? In this documentary, we will follow the strange trail of that secret Mars file. We will examine the remote viewing session. We will look at the claims of pyramids, obelisks, tall beings, and a dying world. We will compare them with what science actually knows about Mars, and we will ask the most difficult question of all. Did the CIA discover signs of an ancient civilization on Mars? Or did the red planet simply become the perfect mirror for humanity's deepest cosmic imagination?
The remote viewing session. The strange Mars file does not begin like a normal space investigation. There is no rocket launch, no landing sequence, no rover moving through dust, no scientist standing beside a monitor studying images from another planet. Instead, there is a room, a monitor, a subject, a set of coordinates, and a sealed instruction pointing toward Mars. This is what makes the 1984 session so unusual. The experiment was not trying to explore Mars with cameras or machines. It was trying to explore Mars through the human mind. The subject was asked to focus. The monitor guided him carefully. The target was not described openly in a dramatic way. Instead, the session moved through coordinates, one location after another, as if the mind itself were being sent across the surface of another world. And the time was even stranger. Not present-day Mars, not the Mars of orbiters and rovers, but Mars roughly 1 million years in the past. This detail changes the entire feeling of the document, because the subject was not simply being asked to describe a place, he was being asked to describe a lost moment, a vanished version of Mars, a world that no spacecraft could directly photograph, a past that no human eye had ever seen. At first, the descriptions are uncertain. The subject speaks in fragments. He does not sound like someone delivering a clear report. He sounds like someone trying to understand blurry impressions. Shapes appear, angles appear. A structure begins to form in his mind. Then comes the first major image, a pyramid-like shape, large, high, sitting in a depressed area. The word pyramid immediately changes the emotional power of the session. Because pyramids do not feel random to us. On Earth, they are connected with ancient civilizations, Egypt, Mesoamerica, monuments, tombs, rituals, astronomy, power, memory. So when the subject describes something pyramid-like on Mars, the mind instantly wants to connect it with construction. But this is also where caution is needed. Mars is full of natural shapes. Hills can look symmetrical from certain angles. Erosion can carve sharp lines. Shadows can create false geometry. A mountain can become a face. A ridge can become a wall. A triangular hill can become a pyramid. The planet does not need aliens to create mysterious shapes. It only needs light, dust, time, and a human observer ready to find meaning. Still, the session does not stop at one pyramid. The subject continues describing massive surfaces, smooth angles, huge walls, megalithic forms. The word megalithic gives the description an ancient feeling. It suggests stone, weight, scale, something built not for ordinary shelter, but for permanence. Something that belongs to a civilization trying to leave a mark. As the monitor moves the subject to other coordinates, the images become more complex. There are canyon-like spaces, tall walls, interior chambers, structures that seem carved into the landscape. The subject describes places that feel enormous, almost too large for human scale. He speaks of smooth stone and wide, empty areas with very little detail. This is important. The descriptions are not filled with machines, control panels, lights, or advanced technology. They are broad, architectural, atmospheric, ancient, more like ruins than a living city, more like a memory than a clear photograph. That gives the session a haunting tone. If the subject was imagining Mars, he was not imagining a futuristic alien empire. He was imagining a civilization that had already fallen into silence. Then the monitor asks him to move again. Another coordinate, another impression. This time, the subject describes something like a marker, a large vertical object. He compares it to the Washington Monument, an obelisk. This is another powerful symbol. On Earth, Obelisks are associated with ancient cultures, memory, power, and sacred architecture. They stand upright against the sky. They are designed to be seen. They mark places of importance. So the idea of an obelisk on Mars immediately creates a dramatic question. Was the subject describing a real structure? Was he interpreting a natural formation? Or was his mind using familiar Earth symbols to make sense of unclear impressions? That last possibility matters. When people encounter something vague, the brain often translates it into known shapes. A tower becomes an obelisk, a hill becomes a pyramid, a cliff becomes a wall, a valley becomes a road. The mind does not like emptiness. It completes the image, and Mars gives the mind endless room to complete. But the most mysterious part of the session is not the pyramid, it is not the obelisk, it is not even the giant walls. The most mysterious part is what the subject says about the beings. When asked to describe who is inside one of the structures, he speaks of people. Very tall, very large, thin because of their height, dressed in light, fitted clothing. He does not describe them as wild or violent. He does not describe them as monsters. Instead, he describes them as ancient, dying, philosophical, as if their time has passed. This is where the session becomes more emotional than scientific. The beings seem aware that their civilization is ending. They are not shown as rulers of Mars. They are survivors. They appear to be hiding from storms or environmental collapse. They are waiting for something, maybe help, maybe a return, maybe an answer that never comes. The subject describes a group that has left in search of another place to live. This creates one of the strongest story ideas in the entire document, a civilization on a dying planet. Some beings remain behind in shelters, others travel away, searching for survival. A world falls apart while its people wait inside enormous structures surrounded by dust, storms, and silence. It is cinematic, it is tragic, and it connects strongly with what we know about Mars as a planet, because Mars really did become harder to live on over time. Its atmosphere became thin, its surface became dry, its water disappeared from the open landscape. Radiation reached the ground more easily, temperatures dropped. If any living system had existed there, it would have faced a brutal transformation. But again, this does not prove intelligent beings existed. Science has not found evidence for that. The remote viewing session is not a fossil. It is not a photograph. It is not a structure measured by a rover. It is a transcript of human perception under experimental conditions. And perception can be strange. The subject may have been influenced by the target without realizing it. He may have drawn from popular ideas about Mars. He may have created symbolic images from partial information. Or the session may have been shaped by the monitor's questions, even unintentionally. Remote viewing experiments often face this problem. If a subject says structure, the monitor may ask about the structure. If the subject says people, the monitor may ask who they are. Each question can pull the imagination deeper. A vague image becomes a scene becomes a story becomes a mystery. This does not mean the subject was lying, it means the human mind can sincerely produce vivid experiences without those experiences being physically real. Dreams feel real while we are inside them. Memories can change over time. Expectations can influence what we believe we are seeing. And when the target is Mars, the imagination already carries centuries of stories, canals, Martians, lost cities, ancient ruins, dying civilizations. The red planet was already filled with human mythology long before the 1984 session took place. So the real question becomes more complex. Was the subject seeing Mars? Or was he seeing humanity's idea of Mars? Was the document a glimpse into an ancient world? Or a glimpse into the human mind during one of the strangest intelligence experiments of the Cold War? That is why this session still fascinates people. It does not give a simple answer. It gives images: a pyramid, an obelisk, storm shelters, tall beings, a group leaving to find another home, a civilization waiting at the edge of extinction. Even if none of it is physically true, the story carries a powerful warning. Planets can change, atmospheres can vanish, water can disappear, a living world can become silent. And if Mars once had even simple life, then its frozen deserts may still hold the memory of that lost beginning. But if the remote viewing document were even partly accurate, then Mars would not only be a planet that lost habitability, it would be a planet that lost history. And somewhere beneath its red dust, the remains of that history might still be waiting. The face, the pyramids, and the human mind. The remote viewing document would be strange on its own, but it became even more powerful because it connected with an older mystery: the face on Mars. In 1976, NASA's Viking 1 orbiter photographed a region called Cydonia. In one image, a rocky formation appeared to resemble a human face. There seemed to be eyes, a nose, a mouth, a shape staring upward from the Martian surface. For many scientists, it was simply a trick of light and shadow, a natural hill photographed at the right angle under the right sunlight, with just enough shadow to fool the human brain. But for the public, it became something much bigger. It looked too familiar, too symbolic, too human. And once people saw a face on Mars, it became almost impossible to unsee it. The image spread through magazines, television programs, books, and documentaries. Mars was no longer only a red desert. It became a world of possible monuments, a place where ancient intelligence might have left a message. Soon, people began looking around the same region for more shapes: pyramids, straight lines, geometric patterns, possible city layouts. What scientists saw as hills, mesas, erosion, and shadows, others saw as ruins. This is where the Mars mystery became deeply connected to the human mind. Because the brain is built to recognize patterns, it has to. For our ancestors, pattern recognition was survival. A face in the dark could mean another human. A shape in the grass could mean a predator. A movement in the distance could mean danger. The brain learned to complete incomplete images quickly. Sometimes it was right, sometimes it was wrong, but being wrong was often safer than missing something important. This ability still lives inside us. We see faces in clouds, figures in smoke, animals in rocks, messages in random shapes. And when we look at another planet, that same ancient instinct follows us. On Mars, this instinct becomes even stronger. The surface is unfamiliar but not completely alien. It has valleys like Earth, mountains like Earth, dunes like Earth, ice like Earth, ancient river channels like Earth. So when a formation looks slightly organized, the mind reaches for something familiar: a pyramid, a wall, a road, a tower, a face. This does not mean people are foolish, it means people are human. Mars gives us just enough similarity to invite imagination and just enough distance to prevent easy answers. That is why the remote viewing session felt so convincing to many people. When the subject described pyramid-like structures and huge, smooth walls, those descriptions matched the kinds of things people were already searching for in Martian images. The document seemed to give a story to the shapes. The face on Mars became not just a hill, it became a possible monument. The pyramid-like formations became not just geology, they became possible architecture. The red desert became not just a planet, it became a graveyard of something lost. But modern imaging changed the conversation. As new spacecraft reached Mars, they carried better cameras. The Mars Global Surveyor, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, and other missions photographed the surface in far greater detail than Viking could. The famous face was seen again under different lighting and with higher resolution. The result was not what believers hoped for. The face-like appearance faded. The eyes, nose, and mouth were no longer clear. Instead, the formation looked like an eroded mesa, a natural landform shaped by time, wind, dust, and light. For scientists, this was the answer. The face on Mars was not a sculpture, it was pareidolia, a familiar pattern created by shadows and a human brain ready to see meaning. But for others, the mystery did not end. Some argued that erosion could have damaged the original structure. Others believed dust may have buried parts of it. Some claimed that official explanations were too quick, too simple, or too dismissive. This is common with mysteries connected to government agencies and space exploration. When an idea becomes emotionally powerful, evidence against it does not always erase it. Sometimes it makes people believe the truth is being hidden. That is why the CIA Mars document continues to attract attention. It does not stand alone. It connects with decades of suspicion. Suspicion that Mars once had ruins. Suspicion that NASA images show more than scientists admit. Suspicion that governments know more than they reveal. Suspicion that human history may be connected to something beyond Earth. For a documentary, this is extremely powerful. But for truth, it is dangerous. Because curiosity can open the door to discovery. But belief without evidence can trap the mind inside a story. To understand Mars honestly, we have to hold both sides at once. Yes, Mars has mysterious-looking formations. Yes, ancient Mars was once more habitable. Yes, the CIA really explored unusual remote viewing programs during the Cold War. Yes, the 1984 Mars session contains dramatic descriptions of structures and beings. But also, no confirmed artificial structure has been found on Mars. No pyramid has been proven. No city has been photographed. No object has been identified as a tool, monument, road, or machine. Every major claim so far has either remained unverified or been explained more simply by natural geology. This is why skepticism matters. Skepticism does not mean killing wonder. It means protecting wonder from false certainty. A real discovery on Mars would be one of the greatest events in human history. If a pyramid were truly found, everything would change. Science would change. Religion would change. History would change. The way humanity sees itself would change forever. But because the discovery would be so important, the evidence must be strong. A shadow is not enough. A blurry shape is not enough. A remote viewing transcript is not enough. To prove ancient civilization on Mars, we would need direct, repeatable, physical evidence, a structure with clear, artificial design, materials arranged in a way nature could not easily explain, tools, artifacts, symbols, buried ruins, chemical traces of industry, something that can be measured, tested, photographed, analyzed, and confirmed by independent scientists. Until then, the Mars civilization idea remains a mystery story, not a scientific conclusion. Yet mystery stories can still be valuable. They reveal what humans are searching for. The belief in Martian pyramids is not only about Mars, it is about loneliness. It is about the hope that intelligence is not unique to Earth. It is about the fear that civilizations can rise and vanish. It is about our own future. Because when people imagine a dead civilization on Mars, they are also imagining a warning for Earth, a world that lost its atmosphere, a planet that dried out, a civilization that waited too long, a people who searched for survival somewhere else. Even if that story is not true, it speaks to something real inside us. Mars is a reminder that planets are not permanent in the way we want them to be. They evolve, they cool, they lose air, they lose water. They are shaped by impacts, radiation, climate, and time. Earth is not identical to Mars, but Mars shows us that a world can change dramatically. This is why the red planet remains so emotionally powerful. It is both alien and familiar, dead and possibly once alive, empty and full of imagined ghosts, scientific and mythological at the same time. The face on Mars may only be a mountain, the pyramids may only be hills, the obelisk may only be a mental image, the tall beings may only be the creation of a human mind under strange conditions, but the question behind them remains alive. What happened to Mars? And what might still be hidden beneath its dust? As we move deeper into this story, the focus must shift from images that look artificial to evidence that Mars was once habitable. Because if there is any real secret buried on Mars, it may not be a pyramid, it may not be a city, it may not be an obelisk pointing at the sky. The greatest discovery may be much smaller, a chemical trace, a fossilized microbe, a preserved organic molecule, a sign that life once began on another world. And if Mars once had even simple life, then the meaning of the 1984 document changes again. Maybe the subject did not reveal an ancient civilization, maybe the mind built a myth around a deeper truth. That Mars was never just a dead rock, it was once a world with possibility. And that possibility is the real mystery still waiting for us. Could Mars have supported something more? If the remote viewing document describes a dying civilization on Mars, then one question becomes unavoidable. Could Mars ever have supported something more than simple life, not just bacteria, not just microscopic organisms hidden in mud or water, but complex life, intelligent life, a civilization capable of building shelters, monuments, roads, or machines? This is where the mystery becomes difficult, because Mars was once more habitable than it is today. That is not fantasy. That is science. Across its surface, Mars carries signs of an ancient wet world. There are dried river channels, lake beds, minerals that form in the presence of water. Delta formations where flowing rivers may have once delivered sediment into standing lakes. There are valleys that look carved by floods. There are deposits that suggest water once interacted with rock for long periods. To scientists, these clues do not prove civilization, but they do suggest that early Mars was not always the frozen desert we see now. Billions of years ago, it may have had a thicker atmosphere. Its surface may have been warmer. Liquid water may have flowed across its land. In some places, lakes may have lasted long enough to create environments where life could begin. This is why Mars remains one of the most important worlds in the search for life beyond Earth. But there is a major difference between a planet that can support microbes and a planet that can produce intelligence. On Earth, life appeared very early, but complex life took billions of years. For most of Earth's history, life remained microscopic, simple, invisible to the eye. Civilization came extremely late. If Earth's entire history were compressed into a single day, humans would appear only in the final moments before midnight. This matters when thinking about Mars. Mars may have had a habitable period, but was it long enough, stable enough, rich enough, protected enough? For complex life to evolve, a planet needs more than water. It needs time, energy, chemical stability, a protective atmosphere, a climate that does not collapse too quickly, a magnetic field or some way to reduce radiation damage, and environments where life can survive across massive stretches of time. Mars may have had some of these ingredients early on, but it also had serious weaknesses. It is smaller than Earth. Because of its smaller size, Mars cooled faster. Its interior activity weakened, its magnetic field faded. Without a strong global magnetic field, the solar wind could strip away parts of its atmosphere over time. As the atmosphere thinned, pressure dropped. Liquid water became harder to maintain on the surface. The planet became colder, drier, and more exposed. If life existed, it may have retreated underground. Below the surface, it could have been protected from radiation. It could have survived near pockets of water, heat, or chemical energy. But underground life is not the same as surface civilization. Microbes may hide in stone, but cities need open environments, agriculture, energy systems, long-term climate stability, communication, materials, generations of development. This is why the idea of ancient Martian intelligence remains scientifically weak, not impossible in a fantasy sense, but unsupported by evidence. Still, the remote viewing document describes something emotionally powerful, a species trying to survive environmental collapse, a group leaving to find another home, others waiting inside massive shelters. This image feels familiar because humanity is now beginning to think in similar terms. We study climate change, we study asteroid impacts, we study planetary defense, we dream of Mars colonies, we talk about becoming a multi-planet species. We imagine building shelters on another world, not because it is easy, but because survival may one day require it. In that way, the story of ancient Martians is really a reflection of ourselves. If Mars once had a civilization that collapsed, then it becomes a warning, a mirror of what could happen to any intelligent species that fails to adapt. But if no civilization existed, the warning still remains. Mars itself is enough. A planet does not need cities to become tragic. It only needs to show that habitability can be temporary. A warm world can become cold. A wet world can become dry. A sky can thin. A surface can empty. The red planet may be a natural example of planetary loss, and that may be even more important than the mystery of pyramids, because if life started on Mars billions of years ago, it may have been forced into hiding. Maybe it died out. Maybe it survived beneath the ground. Maybe its chemistry remains locked inside ancient rocks. This is what modern Mars missions are trying to understand. Rovers like Curiosity and Perseverance are not searching for giant cities. They are searching for signs of ancient environments. They study sediments, they analyze minerals, they drill into rocks, they look for organic molecules, they explore places where water once existed. Perseverance landed in Jezero crater because it contains an ancient river delta. On Earth, deltas are excellent places to preserve traces of life. Sediment collects there. Organic material can become trapped. Layers build slowly, like pages in a planetary book. If Mars ever had microbial life, places like Jezero may hold clues. But even this search is incredibly difficult. A fossil microbe is not easy to identify. Organic molecules can form through non-biological processes. Rocks can be altered by radiation, chemistry, heat, and time. A single clue is rarely enough. Scientists need patterns, context, multiple lines of evidence, samples returned to Earth, laboratory analysis, confirmation. That is the difference between science and speculation. Science moves slowly because it has to. A remote viewing transcript can create a mystery in minutes, but proving life on Mars may take decades, and proving civilization would require evidence far beyond anything currently found. A pyramid would need to be examined closely. Its geometry would need to be measured. Its material would need to be studied. Its age would need to be established. Its construction would need to be distinguished from natural geology. The same would apply to roads, walls, obelisks, or ruins. From orbit, strange shapes are not enough. Mars is too complex. Its geology can imitate design. Lava flows can form sharp boundaries. Fractures can create straight lines. Erosion can carve symmetry. Wind can expose and bury features. Ice can break the ground into polygonal patterns. Impact craters can create rings and ridges. Nature is capable of making shapes that look artificial, especially when seen from far above. This is why every claim must face the hardest question. Could nature have made this? If the answer is yes, then the artificial explanation becomes weaker, not impossible, but weaker. That does not make Mars less interesting, it makes it more interesting, because the real Mars is already extraordinary. Olympus Mons is the largest volcano in the solar system. Valles Marineris is a canyon system so massive it dwarfs the Grand Canyon. Hellas Basin is an impact scar of planetary scale. The poles hold ice. Dust storms can wrap around the entire planet. Ancient water channels cut across dry land like memories. Mars does not need fake ruins to be dramatic. It is dramatic because it is real. And yet, the idea of ruins remains powerful, because ruins represent memory. They prove that someone was there, they say, a mind existed here. Hands built this, a culture lived, a world had meaning before silence arrived. That is what people hope to find on Mars, not just life, connection. Evidence that Earth is not the only world where intelligence looked up at the sky and wondered. But until that evidence appears, the most honest answer is this: Mars may once have been habitable. Mars may once have had microbial life. Mars may still preserve traces of that life. But there is no verified evidence that Mars ever had an ancient civilization. The CIA remote viewing document remains fascinating, but not conclusive. It is a mystery, not a discovery. A story, not proof. A strange artifact from a strange era of intelligence research. Still, it pushes us toward a deeper question. If Mars once had the ingredients for life and Earth developed intelligence, then how many other worlds across the galaxy may have walked a similar path? How many civilizations could have risen, struggled, and vanished? How many dead planets are not truly empty, but silent, because their histories are buried too deep to see? Mars may not hold pyramids, it may not hold obelisks, it may not hold the remains of tall beings waiting in shelters, but it may hold something even more important: the answer to whether life can begin twice in one solar system. And if that answer is yes, then the universe becomes far less lonely, because Mars would prove that life is not a miracle belonging only to Earth. It is something the cosmos may do whenever the conditions are right. That possibility is bigger than any pyramid. And it is why humanity keeps going back to the red planet.